these face-to-faces. Can I just ask a question? If we were to conduct, the face-to-face meetings, there'd be nothing stopping us from doing it in a mixed format, that if people wanted to do it in council, they could do it in council. If they wanted to do it via Zoom or were unable to attend, they could do it via Zoom to whoever's able to.
Well, Chairman, my understanding is that just as Alderman Sexton dialed into the council meeting on Monday evening, that is possible. I guess technically, though, it gets tricky if we've got presentations and things, and I'm not sure how Alderman Sexton found it from afar, but it is an option that could be explored if that was committee's wish.
Look, I won't go as far as moving any motions yet. It's probably best to hear everybody else's viewpoints on this, but I do think that maybe a mix is the best way to go about it. I think there is something that's lost in us not being able to see each other face to face. I think we saw that last night. I think there was probably a better standard of debate on Monday night as we've had in definitely in the last couple of months. So I think there is that sort of face to face benefit, and I think there is a bit more legitimacy to the meetings being conducted, especially when major decisions are being made. So look, I'd support going at least to a mix or back in person, but I'm happy to wait and see what everybody else has to say.
All right. Well, let's go around. Councillor Ewan.
Thank you. My strong preference would be to continue on Zoom. It's just a lot more accessible for me personally. I agree that meeting face to face at council probably was a good thing to switch back there. But in terms of committee meetings, I mean, I'm on 4 of these things, so I'm a bit overloaded. And yeah, just for ease of access, I don't see an issue with continuing online. That's my preference.
Okay. Deputy Lord Mayor?
I'm happy to continue, Chairman, on Zoom, to be honest. I find it just as easy doing it this way. And it's not city planning and it's not a council meeting. Mm-hmm. So perhaps if we were having deputations every time, it might be a different matter. But I think, we've got in-house deputations or staff online for this, so that's what I would prefer. So continue until we need to change.
Yep. Okay. And Lord Mayor?
Yeah, I'm happy to stay on Zoom, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. So it looks like we've got 1 for mixed and 4 for Zoom. And if I could just speak against the mixed one, that might mean we've got to have staff in a room taking care of the councillors, aldermen that come in, and then also have online staff as well. So it might actually generate a lot more work for us to try and do the mixed one. And the other point is that sometimes we don't have very big agendas and coming in for 2 items, and it might mean that we can get through short agendas rather than delaying them by having Zoom meetings. If there are only a few things, rather than carry it over to the next meeting, we can maybe knock them over if we just meet by Zoom for short meetings. So it looks like we've got a decision that 4 of us support Zoom meeting. Can we have that recorded, and do we need to put a motion forward?
So I'm happy to put a motion to move that we move to Zoom until the COVID restrictions apply.
Okay, and then and we'll see what happens after that. And that may only be another few meetings anyway, or we're not quite sure how long. So I think that's got it covered. Have you got that, Belinda?
Yes, I have, Chair.
Okay. So do we need to put that as a formal motion? Okay. Yes. I'll put that we continue with Zoom until the COVID restrictions are dropped or relaxed or whatever Belinda's written. Okay. I think I've got that 4-1. All those in favour, raise your hand. Okay, so that's 4 against.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
I won't oppose it. I think it's pretty clear, and I wasn't sort of stuck in the mud on it anyway. If the majority thinks that we should be staying in virtual, I'm happy to go along with that.
And it can only be for a little while. So yeah. Okay, so it's unanimous then. Thanks, Belinda. So item 6.2 is the Elizabeth Street Midtown Retail Precinct, the proposed streetscape concept. Mr. Noy, would you like to give us an introduction to this item?
Yeah, happy to, Chair. A
committee will recall council agreeing to or considering stakeholder feedback in its October meeting, and where it agreed to go out to wider public consultation or feedback. Council officers undertook a survey of the wider community. We wrote to property owners again and businesses, had promotional effort on social media and the like, advising them of the opportunity to comment on what was being proposed for Midtown. And this followed, clearly a very extensive engagement process, including a team of interested businesses and individuals, project action team, similar to the award-winning process that was adopted in Newtown. And so yes, we've gone out. We sought that wider public feedback. We got 183 survey responses, and we got we got some concerns raised. There's no doubt about that. There were concerns raised about loss of on-street car parking and the issue of the uphill bicycle lane. But in general terms, the results indicated a 71% supportive of the overall concept designs. We've responded to those concerns within the report, and are reasonably satisfied that we've with some I suppose some suggestions around the uphill bicycle lane, that we've I suppose hit a compromised position in what we're proposing tonight. The next phase, if council were to and committee were to endorse the proposal, we would then seek to report back to council on what the overall cost would be for the proposal. We know that we don't have finances at this point in time, and that we would need to seek funding to develop the upgrade as proposed. Although we have had some indication from the university that they would be willing to provide some funding towards Block 1 redevelopment consistent with what's being proposed. So we would need to come back, provide a much more definitive indication of costing, report back on car parking revenue, loss associated with car parking revenue, because we do take car parking, on-street car parking spaces out to accommodate wider footpaths and wider alfresco dining areas for some traders, particularly in Block 1. So that being a brief introduction, I'm happy to take any questions, and so is my team of Philip and Sarah.
Okay. Well, the item's opened, and we've got two hands up. Alderman Barakis and then Councillor Ewan.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I've got a few questions and a few comments. I'll start with I suppose the easy one first. So it's page 33 of the report's a good place to start with this. The intersections, specifically the intersections, I think you can sort of see it around anywhere 0.1, anywhere 0.5 is, and I have discussed this with you over the phone.
Yes, yeah.
One of the concerns that was raised with me was, when cars are coming up to the traffic light, as you can see at the top of that diagram of Block 1 on Melville Street, the lane splits. So if people are turning left or right, there's an option for cars to either go straight or go the other way, so they're not backing up waiting for the person that's waiting for oncoming traffic before he goes. That seems to have which currently exists on Elizabeth Street as it stands now. That seems to have been taken away, and it does appear that it could just be that the way that the diagram is, because it's not showing as much detail. It's showing in part of the diagram and not in the other part of the diagram, I guess, if that's the case. But there does sort of see some parts where the road's wide enough to accommodate 2 lanes just at the intersection, to accommodate that, but that's not included. Is it intended that that's going to happen in all of those spots, and B, would it be workable, or would it fundamentally change the design to include that, just to allow the traffic to continue to move when cars are trying to move around the intersections?
Yeah, no, look, as previously discussed, and for the benefit of all committee members, that left-hand turning lane will remain in place. We were very mindful that this is still a major route for Metro, and they're keen to ensure the free flow of the public transport along this route. And yeah, we don't provide. We haven't provided all the detail on the plan, but I can assure you that those left-hand lane turning options and lanes are still there.
And that would be included at all the intersections as they are currently.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. That was, I think, an important, just maybe a clarification more than anything else, because I think somebody raised it with me. I was like, that's a fair point. Just another question before I sort of put my 2 cents in. It sort of seems to me that there's, I suppose, a third and a third and a third when looking at the feedback, and whether it seems that block 1, block 2, block 3 all sort of seem to have a third that's not happy with the design. And then there's about a third that's sort of happy but concerned, and then there's a third that thinks it's amazing. And that does sort of seem to be a similar result in the broader survey results. What changes have been proposed or made based on the consultation feedback that we've gotten just in front of us now?
Yeah, look, we have in relation to the uphill bicycle lane, we propose to trial some separation, particularly from the car parking, as I understand it, with a little with an additional width area that would restrict or limit the scope for dooring, where you're in the bicycle path and you get a car open at doors and cleaning up a cyclist. So we are proposing that as part of the Open for Business grant that we recently received, is to trial that arrangement to create a greater separation and protection for cyclists in relation to that. In relation to the car parking issue, and we know that, I suppose our response is to make people more aware of the 50-odd car parking spaces that aren't being used in the university car parking, public car parking facility, to ensure that is has a higher profile and greater understanding of the public that facility is there. It's level access to the middle of Block 1, so that that those people that do want to access this precinct know that while there might have been a reduction in on-street car parking, there's still adequate and available and cheap car parking immediately adjacent to this facility. So we know that we've got to do a little bit more work around publicising that off-street car parking facility, and that like North Hobart, we just need to make sure people are aware of those facilities so that they can access this area if they need to by car, and park in adjacent off-street facilities, and enjoy the the extra retail amenity and entertainment amenity that would be generated by the wider footpath.
Thank you for that. And look, okay, so I'll get to my sort of points here. I think, look, if page 60, between page 60 and 64, we've got the or 60 and 63, sorry, we've got the sort of the survey results that we got the consultation. I think it was 38% said that they're perfectly happy with the proposal, and then you've got about 30% that says 32% that says they're supportive, so they're going in that sort of 60 plus or 70 plus supportive category, that have concerns, and a lot of those concerns, as was said, were either about the bike lane or the parking, and that's I'm just going off the sort of quotes that are in the report.
Yeah.
And then we've got another section where we've got 16.4 that says they don't support the concept, but they want to see something different, so they're not against the thing entirely. And parking is a major aspect there as well, and as is the bicycle lanes. And we've got 12% that says they don't want it all together. So there's over 60% that have raised some concern about the bike lanes, granted, and as well as the parking, which is obviously a major point. We've got that extra, those extra notes. We've got the correspondence from the CWA. We've got the correspondence from Ms. Bloomfield as well, which was, and I'm glad that was acknowledged in the report. I'm a bit disappointed by some of the comments that I've seen in the emails, but that's a separate thing altogether. There's businesses that are very much in favour of this, and there's members of the community that are very much in favour of this, and there's people that are not in favour of it. And obviously, the fact that we've got a small group of people that are completely against it doesn't mean we should be vetoing this. And I'm not against the broad design myself, but I think when you have 30% against when you got 30% of a pretty good feedback sample that are against the design, maybe not even so much against the whole thing, but have some pretty major concerns about it. And we have, even another 30% that's in the supportive category that still raise those same concerns. I think for us to just write that off as, that's not, that's sort of, either their failure to understand it or we'll just push past that. I think a bit disappointing, and I sort of say that more towards the elected members than I do to the officers, because once again, I am glad that at least that correspondence was included in the report.
Yeah.
But the for us to say, look, that doesn't matter, we'll just ignore that, or we're not going to win an argument with these people, so it's better not even to respond to it. We've got at least 60% of people that are sort of saying we're not happy with the way that the bike lane is, and we're definitely not happy about the reduction in car spots. I think we need to do something to at least try and find a better compromise on there, because this is something, whatever we do there, when it is done, it's going to be there for a long time. And these are the people that are using the road. These are the people that, pay the rates and, operate the businesses of this street, the commerce and the vibrance of these streets rely on. And so for us to just sort of ignore that, I think would be very disappointing, and I don't think sends a very good message at all. So look, I'd be, I don't think this is going to get very far in the committee, but I'd like to see this deferred so we can come up with some better substantial response to the feedback that we've gotten. I'm not saying we don't go ahead with the project, but especially given that this project has been, as referenced, it's not going to be funded anytime soon. I don't think we're in a rush to get it done today. And I think when we've got such a broad range of feedback saying that the parking's a problem, the bike lane's a problem, it would be, it'd be silly for us to push through as it is right now without actually properly giving some consideration to that. I think there is an answer that we can keep, the most people happy. And if there's a small group of people that are unhappy, then we can obviously you can't keep everybody happy. But when there's such a broad group of people that have got issues with the issues with what's being proposed. Whether it's the people that are largely supportive but kind of worried about this, to the people that are completely against it. I think we need to take that seriously, because otherwise, this is consultation just in the form of ticking boxes to say we did the consultation. So look, I won't move it to gag debate, but I'll foreshadow that we defer this so we can actually get some meaningful consideration of this. But I'll leave it there for the moment, and we'll see where discussion goes. But I'll foreshadow that I'm going to move for a deferral based on that.
Okay, Councillor Ewan.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I also was a bit disappointed about the design of the bike lanes, fully cognizant of the fact that that's largely due to funding. But I guess with part 2 of the recommendation, I felt a little more comfortable about it. I guess, does the current design preclude us from eventually putting in fully separated bike lanes in the future?
Yeah, look, very good question, and it's a difficult one for us. We could, if we lost car parking, a whole side of car parking, we could do that, but that comes, clearly with some concern from some of the traders. So it is, it's not a wide street. It's not a particularly wide street. We are contested. We need two lanes of traffic. We need to maintain some car parking on both sides to, I suppose, address some of the concerns by some of the traders, and we would ideally need to have wider footpaths so some of the traders can create that street amenity to get people to stay and get people to spend more if they do stay. So and we know these types of streets where there is improved ability to stay, that people will stay and they will spend more money. It's well documented approach. So yeah, it's a challenge and it's a compromise. Understand that, but unless you're going to take out one side of car parking, then we're not going to be able to get a completely separated bicycle lane.
Thank you for that. I'm interested to hear other people's comments.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Noy, and through you, Chair. I'd like to ask a couple of questions, if I may, and I take the point too that Councillor Ewan has made. Ideally, having the safest bike paths are the way to go in our city. We've had quite a lot of opposition over the years to doing that, but if you build safer bike lanes, then obviously people do come and they do use them. I have a couple of questions just in relation to that. So, Mr. Noy, there was talk about chevrons and having at least some distance from car doors. Are chevrons at least a possibility?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yes, we would hope to trial those within the Ready for Business program for the next 12 months. Hence the recommendation that we delay making a determination on the ultimate design of that uphill bike lane until we've tested those chevrons and that separation arrangement.
In relation to, it was something raised with me in an email today, in relation to awnings and making it more attractive to walk down undercover. I know that obviously the UTAS accommodation has an awning. Is there any other likelihood of further awnings, or is it? I guess it's just really.
Sorry, through you, Chair, you just broke up at the end, but the question was, as I understand it, was there any scope to extend those awnings? And I suppose we've got to be careful. There are some heritage listed buildings in along this along this route. There are, and there might be some limitations on what we can add to those listed properties. We also have a number of future development sites that when they are redeveloped, there will be scope to add awnings. So it'll be a mixture. Is my response as development opportunities present themselves.
Sure. Okay. So that's a possibility. In relation, and it might be a question for Ms. Bendyke or whoever was most likely or most closely involved with the PAT. My understanding is that there were people with various means of mobility or levels of mobility, including wheelchairs, using Elizabeth Street. Is the gradient of Elizabeth Street suitable for walking? I mean, it's a bit of a strange question, but suitable for walking and wheelchairs as it is?
I'll answer that first and let Sarah clean up after me. Thank you. In terms of the grade, no, it isn't. It isn't, compliant for necessary for wheelchair use. But Elizabeth Street is the most heavily pedestrian, highest pedestrian movement of all those Harrington, Murray, Argyle, Campbell Streets. Survey work that we did to inform us in relation to this work did show that Elizabeth Street was the most favoured walking street, north-south, in the city. But I'll hand over to Sarah to add to that if she would like to.
Thanks, Neil, and through you, Chair. I don't think I have anything to add to that. It's certainly a gentler gradient than the other sort of couplets on either side that go to the north, and I guess it is quite a direct connection up to North Hobart. So it's a popular walking street, but if you were building compliant infrastructure from scratch, as Mr. Noy says, it would not comply.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just make a few comments. Whilst we don't necessarily have everything in place in this design, and partly because of the street and the topography, I would be really disappointed if we were looking at deferring this item. This has been worked on for many years. We have funding from the state government with these ready for business opportunities with the parklets, if you like, and to trial those I think would be really beneficial. And so, we don't just as the Sustainability Hobart didn't necessarily have everything I would have liked to have seen in it. It was certainly worth supporting, and so too with this. I think we have to trial these things. We have to take on those problems that people do see. And I think we have to address the way that we implement these projects. We've tried to do really meaningful community engagement, and my understanding is that actually 71% of people were in favour of this, the overall concept. So that's a really high success rate. So to say anything other than that, I think's a little misleading. So I would like to move this and really thank the officers for the work they have done to date and the PAT.
Lord Mayor, do you have a comment?
Yeah, a couple of questions first. One of the reasons I think we're we can't have everything we want in Elizabeth Street is that everybody wants a bit of Elizabeth Street. And it is becoming, it's becoming a bit contested in terms of the space allocation because there's so much going on. And that's, that's one of its successes in some ways, but I do feel that, for example, the separated bike lane issue is fundamentally hard to deliver on because we're trying to do so many other things. And I sort of feel like we haven't actually got a clear idea about, what our vision for Elizabeth Street is in its entirety. And, if it is a really important, I know that the cyclists prefer this street as do pedestrians than the other streets. But if that is the case, then maybe we need to, make some firmer decisions about what we want to go in, what's going on in this street, what's going to be its focus, not just in these 3 blocks, but basically from the waterfront through to North Hobart, and make sure that there's a consistency in the decisions we're making, and we don't try and, do everything in this one street. So I think some of the issues come from that. And I just wanted to get a comment, I guess, in response to that hypothesis from the director or Ms. Bendyke about whether this is one of our challenges with Elizabeth Street, that there is, lots of contested users, and whether there's a way that we could, in particular, I've had a few business, just recently there's been a couple of businesses where, the whole metro side of things is becoming a challenge. I know Metro doesn't like the parklets, and Metro doesn't, wants everything to be fast moving transit through Elizabeth Street, but there's a lot of other demands and interests in Elizabeth Street. So can I get a response on that general issue?
Yeah, look, I think Jan Gehl in the 2010 report identified Elizabeth Street as a principal walking street. It's also been identified within the state government Greater Hobart Transport vision as being a major public transport route from the north into the city. So you're right to ask the question: what is the vision? Can it be both things? And I think we've got a view that that ultimately, when you've got to remember that this is at the epicenter of what will become the university city campus. So it's going to be heavily pedestrianised, far greater than it is now. And so, the need for greater pedestrian amenity is clearly evident to me as a planner, and seeing where this city is going to move to in the next 5 to 10 years. But you've also got to remember too that we don't, while we might have an overall vision for a street, we only get to change or implement that vision, probably once every 30 or 40 years. So those visions will change over time. And we're just working with this 3 blocks at the moment, and it is a point in time. There's no doubt about that. It is a compromise. There are compromises on a number of fronts in relation to car parking, in relation to cycling, in relation to footpath width and dining opportunities. It's all a bit of a compromise, but it's the best fit that we can provide at the moment. And ask me in 30 years' time what it should, what that vision should look like. It may be a lot different with automated vehicles and the like, where car parking may not be have its higher need. So that is my response, and I'm happy for Sarah to add her thoughts on it.
Before Sarah does, I also can I ask a supplementary? Do you think there's value? This is separate to this project, and I will get back to this project, but do you think there's value, because GEL is a few years ago now, and it just feels like, would there be value in council confirming and communicating its sort of vision for the full spine of Elizabeth Street, basically from the waterfront to North Hobart, so that we can present that to stakeholders and have our own understanding of what is meant to sort of be the sort of core purpose of Elizabeth Street? Because I do get a sense that it's got a bit of, if it is going to become, lots and lots of students and a high activity street and lots of, there seems to be a lot of breweries and restaurants and everything going in there, then that's and that's our vision for it. Then we would design for that. And I know we are designing for that a bit in this, but we're also trying to manage, other stakeholders, like, as you say, Metro saying, well, this has got to have fast moving buses, and lots of them. And then therefore you can't do something more appropriate for the cyclists, but also these, there's going to be these new electric scooters, which, people are now all over the world, and they need to be in separated sort of cycleway things as well. So would there be value in us just using the existing documents you're referring to, but just sort of confirming and communicating, the council communicating its longer vision of Elizabeth Street in terms of the entire strip?
Yeah, well, that will be dealt with as part of the Central Hobart Precincts Plan. We want to set out what that vision will look like, not only in building form and use, but also in movement and priorities for our public streets. So all that will be addressed in general terms as part of that Central Hobart Precincts Plan.
Okay. All right. Any other comments before I make my comment?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'll just say that, look, I am very pro development on this development. This is change, and this isn't status quo infrastructure. This is moving towards the kind of infrastructure we are going to need for a much busier city with students studying, more students studying and living in the city, but also a whole, quite a lot of extra inner residential, which has already been approved. I think we're all going to be surprised how this is planning for growth. This is planning for growth in Elizabeth Street and in this sort of spine of the city. And I think we're all going to be pretty surprised how quickly Elizabeth Street's going to change. And so I think we have to be, of course, bringing people with us, but we can't please all of the people all of the time, and we are having to respond to the fact that we have to do the responsible thing in ensuring the infrastructure is going to be appropriate for the other land uses, and in this case, we have to ensure that there's enough room for people to move through the space, and a lot of those people are going to be on foot, or other vehicles, but there is going to be a lot more people movement, and so I think this is the very least we can do, I think, in responding to that extra foot traffic that's going to be in Elizabeth Street. We could provide for even more space if we were thinking about what it's going to be like probably in the next 20 years. But yeah, I think this is the, at very least we have to provide this space for that. The fact that Elizabeth Street's going to be a real hub for city growth. So I'm supportive of it, and I think the consultation process has been full on. It's been going for years, and there's been there was the design team, which was very interactive. There's been so many surveys. So there has certainly been lots of, no one would be surprised by this project. Not everyone's going to be happy, but we ultimately have to balance, the range of diverse interests, but also make a strategic decision about what's best for the strategic development of the city. And I think this is the best for now. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Lord Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm also supportive of the direction that we're heading here. I think it's the same kind of transition that cities all over the world are making to move away from the car-dominated, congested streets to more accessible streets that are more mobility diverse. So I'm very pleased with where this is heading. But that said, certain things are always going to be contested. But I'm comfortable with the results of the community engagement that show that 71% of people are in favour of where we're heading. The only contestable thing for me that I think is still not off the table is the sort of bike lane we end up with, the uphill bike lane. And to have an separated uphill bike lane would change the whole design at this point. It would require removal of cars on the downhill side, potentially. So that's something that still needs to be explored, but I'm also pleased that we'll be looking at how we can engage people in using the UTAS car park. Because as we know, there's 100 spaces in that car park, public car park, and only 50% is occupied. So when there's a challenge to us about removing car parks, there's still excess car parks that are available in the UTAS building car park. Could I just ask the director a question? How many car parks will be removed in total? I think it's 15, isn't it?
Yes, to you, Chair. There's 15 in Block 1, I think 3 in Block 2, and I think 5 or 6 in Block 3.
Okay.
5 in Block 3.
So even without those car parks, we still have 50 empty ones sitting in the UTAS car park. And then we've got the Hobart Central car park around the corner, which at some point in time will be open, I hope, late into the evening to accommodate. So people don't have to leave the car park at 6 o'clock. But I'm supportive of this and I'll be voting for it. And I hope that we can resolve the uphill bike path to the satisfaction of cyclists in the future. But at the moment, we're going with the Chevron design, but that might change after the trial. And I'm also looking forward to the contribution from the state government to help us get on with those trials. And the university is also keen to see, or to make sure progress continues. So I don't see any need for deferral. And if that was to be the case, it would happen at the council meeting rather than us, so that everybody gets a chance to speak to the topic. And I'm hoping if it does go to a council meeting that it's not pushed for referral at the start. So we do have a chance for everybody to have their say. So that said, if there's no further contributions, I'll put the item.
Sorry, Councillor Chair. Can I suppose I did want to actually test the committee and move that deferral motion. I'm not sure how successful it would be, but if I could do that.
Well, you said you wanted to foreshadow it, so I don't think I'll take the deferral motion. Everybody's expressed their views, and it looks like
I'd like a put.
Well, I'm not going to accept it because I think you're wasting our time. So sure. I'll put the motion for approval of the officer's recommendations. I'll go around the room. Lord Mayor, how do you vote?
Oh, in favour.
Deputy Lord Mayor?
For.
Councillor Ewan?
For.
Councillor Alderman Barakis?
Against.
And I'm voting for. So that's passed 4-1.
All right. Chair, I have to duck out of this meeting now and attend a different engagement, but so I'll see how the other items go later. But apologies for cutting out early.
Okay, thank you. Item 6.3 is the Collins Court Stage 2 Consultation Committee Report. Would somebody like to move it and comment? Thank you, Councillor Ewan. No comments?
Yeah, no, just moving the item. I'm happy to support it moving forward. And glad to see that we're getting these sort of stuff shovel ready for when funding opportunities arise in the future.
Yep. All right. No other comments? Okay. Look, it looks quite a good design. I'm pleased with what I've seen in the report. So if there's no other comments and there's no one going to vote against, I'll declare that carried unanimously. Item 6.4 is McRoby's Gully Good Neighbourhood Agreement. The working group draft terms of reference. Would somebody like to move that? Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Any comments on the draft terms of reference?
I think that's Councillor Ewan, but...
Oh, sorry. It was a Councillor Ewan. Sorry, missed that. Any comments on the draft terms of reference?
I just had a question, and it might be a bit of a stupid one, but is there a reason that the Tip Shop Cooperative isn't involved in this Good Neighbour Agreement?
It's through you, Chairman, and it's not a stupid question at all. I guess, Councillor Ewan, this is about the operation of the Waste Management Centre proper. There is a pretty strong or a very strong relationship between the management of the site and the operators of the tip shop. But if committee felt they would like to amend the terms of reference to include a representative from the Resource Recovery Centre, that would be absolutely fine.
Thank you. I guess I didn't want to stick my beak in or make any sort of amendments. I guess maybe if it's unnecessary, that's fine, and the relationship exists, and I understand what this group is for, but I guess maybe it might be worth asking the Tip Shop Collective if they wanted to be involved in this. I don't know.
Well, Chairman, I'm in committee's hands. I don't see any reason why we should, if committee would like to have a representative from the Resource Recovery Centre included, then now is the time to do that and amend the terms of reference accordingly. So it's entirely appropriate if committee would like to do it. As I say, there is a strong relationship between officers and the Resource Recovery Centre, but it could well and truly value add.
Mm-hmm. All right, would you like to include, it's your motion, Councillor Ewan, would you like to include that?
Yes, I guess, or can we put it that, you know, they're invited to be part of this rather than that we just chuck it in?
Yeah, I guess the terms of reference need amendment. That'd be the issue. So what we could perhaps, if Belinda framed a part B of the recommendation that said the Resource Recovery Centre be invited to nominate a participant, and if they accept that nomination, the terms of reference be amended accordingly. We could come up with something like that if that's committee's wish.
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, have we got that amendment? Can you just read that to us, Belinda? So are we all clear?
Sure. So we're going to do a part B. So the original motion will be a part A, and then we'll have a part B to say that we're going to invite a member from the Resource Recovery Centre to join the group. And if they wish to nominate, we can amend the terms of reference accordingly.
Okay. We all happy with that? Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the item. Or anyone dissenting? No? Okay, declare that carried. 4. Okay, waste management strategy, item 6.5, waste management strategy 2015 to 2030, the year 4 progress report. Would you like to give us a brief on this? Brief introduction, Mr. Doyle?
Thanks, Chairman, and I noticed Mr. Holmes is participating as well. I remember when this strategy was approved by Council back in 2016, and we thought it was fairly optimistic. I think at the time we weren't quite sure how well we would go. As the report suggests, the strategy includes 91 actions, and it's really great to see on page 1 of the report there that 31 of those actions are complete. 21 are being progressed and will be progressed throughout the term of the strategy. 24 of them, an additional 24 are almost complete, which means we've got 15 left to do. And if you have a look at the report, the 15 that are remaining are high-level actions that will be progressed. I guess it is getting closer to the year 2030 as we rock on. It seemed a long time away in 2016, but as the report suggests, we are following the strategy, we're measuring against the strategy, and I'm really proud and also very thankful for the work that the team have done, particularly the work by Mr. Holmes in reducing the extent of waste to landfill that we have. I guess just in wanting to manage expectation a bit, we have harvested a lot of low-hanging fruit. And so as we move forward, it's going to get tougher, but that's not denting our resolve and our commitment to the strategy. So I congratulate Mr. Holmes on his work, and I commend the report to the committee.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Mr. Doyle. Any other comments? It has been a great effort to date. Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thanks, Chair. I'd echo those comments. It's fantastic to see how much has been achieved to date. I'm just wondering about how, from a financial perspective, it's all going. I mean, obviously we're saving money on some things, and just wondering if some of this less, the higher hanging fruit, if you like, is just going to be a lot more expensive, and also things like container deposit scheme. Can you give us a bit of an update? And I know that's gone to Legat and is a bit of a more of a statewide approach, but perhaps you can just give us a bit of an update on some of those things, Mr. Doyle.
Certainly, Chair, through you. Let's start with the state government's recently released waste management strategy. The state government have reaffirmed their commitment to the introduction of a landfill levy. Now, a landfill levy will be a policy lever that will encourage people to avoid putting waste in landfill. And my understanding is that the state government is very firmly committed to that. And there's some conversations going on at the moment, and as the Deputy Lord Mayor says, there's engagement with LGAT and others. One of the key issues for us, of course, is the quantum of that levy, because it will go immediately on top of the current gate fee, and also the use of the levy to ensure that it is retained for use of waste management in the state. So that's coming. The other issue that I know is well progressed, and I've had some personal involvement, is the container deposit scheme or container refund scheme. My understanding is the state government is very committed to that, and Cabinet are considering options for that. Now, again, that will be a methodology to decrease the amount of waste that finds its way to landfill, because waste will have a value, and again, that's a positive that we're looking forward to, and this council has agreed to be supportive of both of those initiatives. When it comes to the financial operation of McRobies, I think the Deputy Lord Mayor's right. The low-hanging fruit we've harvested has also been the ones that can be achieved within, a reasonable financial constraints. I mean, certainly we introduced FOGO, or we introduced green waste and subsequently FOGO, and that's an additional impost on the ratepayers. I think the thing we do need to remember, though, is that from a cash point of view, McRobies has always been cash positive. So the amount of money we've received in over the gate exceeds the amount of expenditure up there. Now, there's been some work undertaken to get a clear understanding of what our rehabilitation commitments are and what the real cost of waste disposal is. But as we decrease the quantum of waste to landfill, our income comes down. Now, in 2030, if we are successful and we have no waste going to our own landfill, because ours will close in 2030, it means that we will have lost a degree of income that we currently enjoy. And so there are some longer term financial implications of this that we need to have a mind to. Mr. Beard is currently introducing a number of initiatives to improve the financial efficiency of McRobies. But, you know, there will be some financial challenges as we move through the next phases of this strategy. You know, at the end of the day, it's going to mean that we need to sort, and then further sort the material that we receive in the transfer station to extract everything that can possibly be reused or recycled. Now, that will come at a cost, both from an infrastructure point of view and an operational point of view. And, you know, council will need to maintain its resolve because that will have financial implications, because it'll either be via an increased gate fee, which if it includes a levy, a landfill levy, then that's going to be significant. So there's no doubt some financial challenges coming as part of this, but I think it could be argued that the financial challenges of maintaining a landfill will also become unaffordable in the longer term. So reuse and recycling is the best way forward. I hope that helps, Deputy. Probably a long-winded answer.
No, that's a great answer. Thank you. And so happy to move it, Chair.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Deputy. Any other comments? Okay. Yeah, look, I think the next little while is going to be very interesting in the waste phase. And what I'm anticipating is some innovative opportunities within the circular economy environment as well that might have some benefits to us. And also continuing to do what we do even more effectively and more efficiently, and continue to grow the amount of organic material that's removed from waste. But it's an interesting space, and I'm really proud of the officers and the energy and the effort and the enthusiasm that they've put into all of the waste management programs we've had across the operation. And that's from FOGO to promoting cloth nappies, and and especially the single-use plastics bylaw, which was an enormous amount of work from officers across a number of departments. So I can honestly say I'm really proud of the efforts that's been made to date with getting our towards zero waste to landfill strategy heading in the right direction, and to be below 20,000 tonnes. I think, if I recall, we were around the 50,000 tonne mark when I was elected to council in 2007, and we went around in circles a fair bit with the Southern Waste authorities. But the focus has been really fantastic in the last few years. So again, well done, everyone. So is anyone intending to vote against the recommendation? No, I'll declare that carried. Look, one more thing. The Deputy Lord Mayor, since we've moved this, would you like to include a note of thanks? Is this a thing we do in committee? Is it required, do you think, Mr. Doyle?
Oh, look, Chairman, I think staff never reject the opportunity to be thanked by councillors. So that's if that's what committee would like to do, that would be entirely appropriate. And as you say, there is a team of folk both within my division that's been directly involved, and of course the single-use plastic bylaw involved Mr. Noy's division as well. So if committee has a mind to do that, it's absolutely appropriate.
So, Deputy, would you like to include that the committee makes a note of acknowledges the good work of the team associated with reducing City of Hobart's waste? Words to that effect, if you want to workshop that quickly?
And yeah, in both environmental health and whatever your department's called, Glenn.
All right, so we'll include that in the recommendation. Okay, so that's carried unanimously. Our next item is the flood mapping, which we received a briefing on prior to the committee meeting. City of Hobart flood mapping proposal to publish on the city's website. Is someone happy to move that? Thanks, Councillor Ewan. And are there any comments?
Can I just ask, what is the next step? I mean, I've had the folks in De Grave Street who had, briefings and were feeling a bit like, well, yeah, what is the next step? And will there be any sort of mitigation plans that are kind of in a schedule of, most urgent to least urgent, and it might be a 50-year program, I don't know, but is there any or are there any quick wins, things that we can do a bit differently for these areas that are vulnerable?
Chairman, I'll tackle this if you like, and might invite Mr. Smith to make further comment if it gets more detailed. I guess through you, Chairman, Lord Mayor, primarily at this stage, it's information. We've only recently concluded this flood modelling to the extent that we have. We're conscious that all of our neighbours are doing the same thing, and all communities are receiving information. We're conscious that there are some folk, like those in De Graves Street, that were impacted in 2018 and are well aware of the threat that their properties face. But we're equally aware that there are some folk that will get a hell of a shock when they see the results of this modelling, and particularly impacts it might have on their properties in terms of insurance and future development opportunities and so forth. So the first step in this process is to get the information out there. We've developed the frequently asked question documentation, which will be available for both residents and also to help with development. And I made the point during the presentation that this is really very similar to the bushfire threat, and perhaps it's where we were, say, 5 or 7 years ago in terms of bushfire. It provides us with a baseline. It provides us with a level of information that we can now use to move forward. I think it's very fair, though, that we say up front, there's nothing we can do that's going to prevent this flooding. We can certainly look at mitigation measures, and we will be looking at those, and we will be prioritising those based on risk, and we will be chasing external funding because it can be massive dollars. But there is no ability for us to flood-proof this city. I think the costs involved would actually outweigh the value of the infrastructure that we'd be trying to protect. I think we need to be really upfront about that. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to do anything, because there is certainly a body of work we can do, and we will use this information and the risk assessments to help, direct our capital works program. We have the challenge at the moment that our capital works program is predominantly restricted to asset replacement. Now, that does mean, though, if we've got to replace a main, we will increase its size. But Ms. Flanagan made the point during the presentation that for us to size our infrastructure to accommodate this 1 in 100-year flood simply wouldn't be financially realistic. So there are massive challenges in this space. So, Lord Mayor, it really is the start of a long journey, and it probably is a 50-year one. And we need to look at this catchment by catchment and look at the mitigation measures that might be applied in a catchment, and then, as I say, do a cost-benefit analysis to work out how it compares in terms of the value of the infrastructure. So, in terms of the people in De Grave Street, we have met with them, we've provided them with the information, and we're very happy to keep communicating with them. But I think for us to suggest that we're able to flood-proof their properties would be a step too far.
Okay, any further comments? No? Yeah, I think this is a fantastic body of work, and I'm keen for it to be put out there so that people are aware of the situation in Hobart. But I also just want to quickly mention the memo that I looked at today, which talked about the costs of natural disasters in Australia that were released by the Royal Commission into National Natural Disasters, which went, and the data they had was from 2010 to 2020, and that suggested that there was $18 billion worth of natural disaster costs every year for the last 10 years. So it's quite a staggering figure. That's to do with fires as well as floods and as well as all the other natural disasters. So the more information we have, the better prepared we can be looking into the future. So I'm really pleased to see these maps, these overlays, and that other councils also have been, constructing their own or conducting their own or producing their own overlays as well. So I think it's really valuable work that'll help the council better prepare for the future in the way we design our cities and our suburbs and our streets and things, and where and how people make decisions about where they locate their property or how they develop their property and things. So I think this is a really valuable body of knowledge for the council. All right, if there's no other comments, does anybody want to vote against this recommendation? No? Okay, I'll declare that carried. Thank you.
Chairman, I'll need to go in the next 5 minutes, so I just wondered if there's going to be a quorum if I do, or can we get through things in the next 5 minutes?
Okay, we've got the trams, request to item 6.7, request to restore to store the trams at the Queen's Domain Quarry. Would someone like to move that? We can get through that pretty quick, I think. Hand up. Deputy Lord Mayor, any comments? No comments. I'll declare that carried unanimously. Next item is the Community Action Status Report. Any comments? No comments. Would somebody like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Ewan. No objections. I'll declare that carried. Responses to question without notice. We have several responses. Would somebody like to move that be received? Thank you, Councillor Ewan. No objections to that. I'll declare that carried as well. Questions without notice. Does anybody have a question? We have questions from Councillor Ewan and questions from the Lord Mayor. Councillor Ewan.
Thank you. So the first one should be pretty quick. Just regarding the fire at the tip shop, it's my understanding that the shed that burnt is our infrastructure. So I'm just wondering if we have any info on the timeline for its removal or replacement at this stage.
Chairman, I guess it's best if I take it on notice for a formal response, but all of the infrastructure up there is council owned. The Resource Recovery Centre lease it. The council does have building insurance and we're engaging with our insurers at the moment. I think it's a little bit early to commit to a time frame because there's all the insurance processes and then building approvals and then finding a contractor. But I can say that we're working very closely with the operators of the Resource Recovery Centre, and only today I had someone up there who was helping with the establishment of an alternative traffic access and entry. But I'll come back with some more detailed response in due course.
Thank you, Director. And Councillor Ewan. Lord Mayor.
Yeah, I guess just a follow-up supplementary question from the speed limit response. How would we go about getting updated speed monitoring on Macquarie, basically after Elizabeth Street. Is that up to us, or is that a state government? Do we have to request it of the state government?
I might answer that one. We'd have to ask the state government. So yeah, I don't know whether they actually do any speed monitoring. So my understanding is we did ask them whether they did. They didn't. And whether we would get any luck with asking them to monitor it, we'd have to have a basis for the request, I suspect.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, could I have a motion to move into the close, please? Thank you, Councillor Ewan. And I'll declare the open